Hi, this is Mary Kay. Today we're going to be doing a scene from New Hampshire. I went and visited my sister last week. This is Pillsbury Lake. This is from her deck. And the first thing I want to do is explain how to get your paints ready for a painting like this. So if you haven't used your paints in a while, then you can just go through with a wet brush and clean them out. And then pick a squirt of your colors and put it into the tops. That way you're going to have fresh paint to really be able to get some color going. So this is the picture that I'm using. It's got this sailboat, it's got these beautiful reflections, and this is the tree that I want to put in. The way that I get ready to work on this takes quite a bit of prep, is that I put my picture down where I want it to be on my painting, like that, and tape it down, and then put the tracing paper in. So what I did was I traced the sailboat, the top, the bottom, the person, both sails, and the horizon line, and I sketched out where these trees go, and I put that little white house in. So then what I did was I took a number 2 brush, I put it in dilute shampoo, and then I used Pebeo drawing gum, and I painted in the sail, the person, and the little white area at the top of the boat, but not the blue part of the boat, and I did not do the sail in the water, and I did not do the house either. Then the next thing I did was I took a sponge and I put dilute shampoo on it, I squished it out, squished it onto a paper towel, and then I took the Pebeo drawing gum and I used the sponge to put this tree in. A couple things. You want to be able to see the sky through the tree, especially up here, and then there's parts where it's so solid you don't see the sky. Actually, I think it's trees back there, but it can have some solid spots. And then the edges are very fluffy and not that even. Like, these branches are not all the same distance apart. So you have to twist your sponge each time. And then rinse out your brush and your sponge in water right away to get all the Pebeo out of them. And get yourself some fresh water. So that's the prep work. And so I'm going to start with the sky and the trees. So right at the tip, oh, there's some red paint in my brush, which is not a bad thing. So I'm going to wet above the horizon line, the lake line. That's almost halfway, but it's slightly above. The sky is nice and blue. I'm going to use cerulean. Start at the top. Go right over the Pebeo in the tree. The best thing to do with skies is to make things a little bit brighter or darker, more pigment on the top. I'm going to take my paper towel and dry that edge so that I don't get a watermark running back in. And now I'm going to make a dark green with Antwerp blue and burnt sienna. My paper's damp, I'm just gonna put this layer of pine trees above the deciduous trees with the beautiful colors. These are blurring, which I like. I'm just doing these with very simple brush stroke. So this is a flat brush. I hold it like this and I touch the bottom and it just makes a bunch of triangles, and so many though that I'm just gonna kind of blot them over there. That seems to me too even in color. So I'm gonna take a little bit of yellow and a little bit of Antwerp. Whey, my Antwerp's really out there. Oh, that's actually pretty color. I think I will use that. Just gonna kind of move it in there. There's this line of pine trees behind the deciduous trees on the lake bed. Now I'm gonna rinse that all out, and I'm gonna go in. This picture here with the sailboat doesn't have the best colors. It got way better the next day. So I'm gonna start with yellow, clean out my brush. This is Hansa Yellow Medium. And I'm just going to, you know what, I'm just gonna leave that little white house out. So we're gonna go, this might show up over there. And now I'm gonna add permanent rose to this yellow and get a nice orange and put it in. And then I'm gonna just pretty much add just permanent rose into some spots. I wanna make some really like bright areas of red. And now I'm gonna go back into that green that I had. And I'm gonna add a little bit of French ultramarine blue to it, get a very dark green. I'm going to put this here at the base. That's how I'm going to paint my fall foliage on the other side of the lake. What I'm going to do now is paint the ocean, or not the ocean, the lake. I am not going to touch this color much here. I'm going to leave a little dry line in between. I'm going to paint over the sailboat. but I'm going to leave the sail dry. Okay, so I meant to say that I'm painting over the top sail. And I'm going to leave the blue boat and the white sail dry. And I'm going to wet the rest of this. Okay, there's just a tiny little dry spot between the water and the trees on top. And the blue boat and the reflection of the sail are dry. Now I'm going to go back into my cerulean blue. Start at the bottom. Now I'm working up. Now I'm going to go into the greens that I made, and I'm going to figure out where these are blurring. Now I'm painting upside down. So I'm doing the same. So I look where that is, and I'm putting, this is even more wet than it was. That comes a little lower here. Now I'm going to take those same colors that I had before, and if I see them up here, I'm just going to use a brush stroke going down. I can go over this actual sails, and I do want to have this part between the boat and the sail painted the color of the water. Okay, I see more red, so now I need to make more red. So here, if I have that color, I want that same color below. I want this color in back here. I do like that, kind of that pure yellow in this, so I'll put some pure yellows down. It's a little bit of red on this side, so I'm gonna add that. Here's some brighter red here. And then there's the dark colors right here that we put in at the shoreline. So now I'm going to mix some more of that up. That's Antwerp. I don't really put out that much Antwerp, so I'm really getting a good amount when I put my brush in there. Okay, I'm going to add this here. And now I'm going to, what I did was I rinsed out my brush and then I used my paper towel so I have this beautiful edge here, and I'm going to make some, especially from where the sailboat's going, making little lines. And they're in the water. There's some up here and down here. Some little yellow lines. We can throw some leaves on. I didn't get my greens showing very well in here. I feel like I need to add some more of those. Okay, so I feel like these are not showing up very well. Actually, I think it would be good if I'm going to make up some more of the dark green. So that's Antwerp and burnt sienna. Do I dare? Nah, I want to. I just have to do it with a lot of water. I just want to make this go up higher up on this side. So now I can make this go down lower on this side. I like that there's a few trees really kind of sticking out from this, so I could put those in. I have these three kind of even blobs there. I'll just mush those up a little bit. Okay, so do I have enough little stripes? Not yet. I feel like we need more in here. This would be a good way to actually put that little house in. If you're determined to put that little white house in, you can. And now we need to make this sailboat look like a reflection. And the way to do that is just to put a little bit of color on it, like the and then we'll add the blue right around the base here. Is it drying enough now? It's kind of brown, just that shoreline. So maybe some burnt sienna and some raw sienna. It's kind of just, okay. Good. Now I'm going to take my 1-inch brush if I can find it. If not, I'll use my pencil brush. And I'm going to make the blue boat. So it's pretty much just pure cerulean. Tiny bit of water with that. there is the color of the water right in here. Okay. I'm gonna put in a little darker right where the water and the boat meet. And I'm going to dry this with the hair dryer, so please excuse the noise. When you take off the Pebeo, the paper has to be dry. So I'll see if it's dry enough. Sometimes I can get a perfect white line underneath, and sometimes I'm always smearing it. So today's a little bit of both. I get impatient and don't let it dry enough. Okay, then up here, this is our foliage. You can paint this in with your sponge or with a paintbrush. I call this tool a pickup because Cheap Joe's is a paint company that I've used for 30 years. It went out of business when Joe died. And now that they're at Dick Blick, they have a different name, but I can never remember the new name. Okay, so now I'm going to paint in the little person that is in the boat. There's the head. It's very hard to see. I think they have dark hair. There's a person in the, this is sepia. I'm just gonna try to, okay, so there's the hair. That wasn't very dark. A little darker hair, I think. Okay. And maybe some flesh tone, some really, really pale burnt sienna. And like a gray. Okay. And there's supposed to be like a tiny little white area around this. I think I'm just gonna leave it because I can't really fix that. So that's my person. They look like they're a convict. Okay, now I'm just gonna use my brush, and I'm gonna start with yellow. See how it's gonna go. Do I want to sponge it? Maybe I do. Let me try it. The trees actually start turning red at the tops before, and then they turn yellow, the tops turn red, and then the red kind of moves, comes down as the chlorophyll dies. No, I don't like that that much. Let me try this some more. Okay, so this is our last step, just to paint in all these little things, just to make it look like it's a tree. The foliage is a fall foliage. It's really the lake is showing through my foliage quite well. I'll just start with the yellow. And I really like that the red is really bright red up on top. And I'm just filling in all the white areas with yellow. And then I'm going to add orange to it, and green and red, and then I'm going to be done. So try to make the red. So the red is yellow with permanent rose. It's up here. The reason that we used Pebeo was because in transparent watercolor, if you put your paint on to white paper, it's very bright and shows up. So if we had painted this blue, we could just sponge it over the blue sky, especially if we kept it kind of light. The blue sky light, then we could sponge over it. Now the thing about trees is, when you're painting foliage, you really want to paint the mass of color and just have a couple little specks for leaves. You don't paint 1,000 leaves. You don't paint every leaf. You paint a mass of color with your brush, just a mass of color. And then right at the edge is a couple little leaves that you can see. That's how you get it to look, that's how you paint it to make it look realistic. Okay, back here. Okay, I'm working this still. I want to make some green. So green is yellow and Antwerp. Got some green, all right. I might put a little bit of French into that to sort of darken it, gray it down. Okay, so I'm gonna put some, what would happen if I sponge some of this? Well, that's certainly, maybe if I just sort of squished it more. I had an old squishy brush that was kind of ruined instead of this nice brush. Let me try to find a different brush. Here's one. This one's an old pencil, yeah, we go. There we go. Okay, so now I'm putting in the greens because they start green and then they turn yellow and then they turn red. Okay, I'm going to make some dark green now, which is Antwerp and burnt sienna. I think that's my color card that I'm going to do. this week. I don't know, maybe we won't do one because we don't have a lot of time. Okay, so I'm trying to make it look like there's this dark area behind these light branches. So I'm trying to make it look like it's three-dimensional. So there's some darks, especially at the bottom here. It's almost there. I'll try some more yellows with, because I have this brush I can really jab at now. And then I want to get some darker reds up there, some purpley darker reds. So permanent rose and a little bit of French. Oh, that's pretty purpley. Oh, I kind of like it. I have that. Now I want to get that nice pinkish red. So that's permanent rose and hands of yellow, but more permanent rose. Here we go. All right, I'm liking that. Okay, I think I'm going to stop. I can put a couple little branches in, but you don't really even notice the branches. They are sort of either, you could even almost scrape them in. Scrape them in with a credit card, or you could paint them in with a little bit of brown paint. Let's try and see what scraping does. So they're kind of coming over this way from here. I'm going to use the curved edge and see if I can get this to look. It made a dark edge and a light edge, so that's good. Going through that. Oh, I kind of like that. Here we could have one. So a couple branches, just scraping them in. I am gonna be finished. I wish I had signed my name somewhere, but that's okay. And that's how I'm gonna paint that. Thanks for watching.